My company, HT2 Labs, we call ourselves a place of firsts. So if you've not been to us, you can have your own first by going around the corner to our stand at N10 and talking to us about what it is you would like to achieve for the first time this year in 2018. So we call ourselves the R&D company for learning and performance. So my company makes software products that enable organizations to make learning more personal, more social, and more measurable. And we do that in a number of different ways with 3 products, which I'm going to intermingle with our case studies today. We like to think of ourselves as a place of firsts. So what we've done is things that are innovative and difficult for the first time. For instance, we were the first people to kind of put gamification into a learning management system. We were the first people to put social comments right alongside e-learning content and really increase the volume, the capacity of social learning. And we were the first people to introduce and adopt the xAPI at scale with an open source learning record store. So we make really exciting, innovative products for businesses to use as part of their L&D offering. We have 3 products, Curator, Learning Locker, and Red Panda, as demonstrated by my small cuddly toys, which I'm told are complete bait at an exhibition like this. So if you fancy taking one of these home, little hand, anybody like a dinosaur? You would like a dinosaur? There is a small catch.
Oh, no.
A small catch. Every time I say the word curator, woo, yeah. It's being filmed, so I need popularity behind it there, okay? Okay. This little guy's learning locker. Who's learning locker? Madam, right there. I need you to cheer. That was a left-handed throw. That's not bad, is it? You see? I need, every time I say learning locker, you're my support. I need you. A red panda, anybody? A red panda. Madam, just there. Every time I say red panda, you go nuts. Okay? Perfect. So, my first product, it's Curator.
Yeah.
See? It's working already. Everybody's happy. My second product, Learning Locker. Yes, loving you. And my third product, Red Panda. Nice. This won't get old at all. So, Curator is what we call a social learning platform. We use it to enable people to make courses that are kind of like massive open online courses, really social learning experiences. Learning Locker is a massive database. Yes. It works with the Experience API, and this is how we measure the impact of our learning implications. And my third product, Red Panda, yes, is all about how can we make learning more personal? How can we get people setting and attempting their own goals and personalizing a learning experience? So we make these 3 tools, and we've been very lucky to work with a range of very forward-thinking organizations to do some things for the first time. This year we got really lucky at the Learning Technology Awards and came away with 6, the most anybody's ever come away with. We won Best Innovation for Learning Locker. You go nuts at that one, surely. That's like the payoff line. We worked with AstraZeneca to pick up a couple of awards. I'm going to talk about them today. We worked with an NGO, Humentum and Action Against Hunger. They're my second case study. And Villeroy & Boch, a retailer. They're my third case study today. Kind of upsettingly, we only got bronze for Learning Technology Company of the Year. I'm kind of feeling a little hard done to. The first 5, surely guys, surely we get better than bronze. But no, we're not good enough for that. We come back next year with maybe one of you in tow, and we'll go for gold. So, 3 case studies. My first one is going to be about Humentum. Humentum is a new organization formed from a couple of different organizations coming together. One you might have heard of before called Learning in NGOs, Lingos. They're now known as Humentum. And what they do is promote operational excellence in socially difficult situations around the world. So our specific example here is called PMD Pro. PMD Pro is a project management qualification that people who work in the not-for-profit or the NGO sector can take to get them up to speed in terms of what it takes to be operationally excellent in the field. What they wanted to do was to deliver their PMD Pro qualification anywhere in the world. And they came back to us with a bit of a challenge because They wanted to do it in a particular area of the world that was difficult to reach. And they didn't just want to do some cookie-cutter e-learning stuff or whatever. They wanted to deliver a modern learning experience, the same experience any one of us back here would expect of a digital learning experience. So they worked with us to think about how could we create PMD Pro in a mobile, social, engaging way that could be delivered around the world. The specific example of this one is taken from Nigeria and trying to deliver PMD Pro training to people who work in the Lake Chad region, up in the top right here of Nigeria. This is a huge conflict zone. It has been for many years. This is where Boko Haram kidnapped hundreds of schoolgirls outrageously. This is a very dangerous, difficult part of the world to get to. And what you see down in this bottom corner here is kind of the city. That's where folks have offices, do training, can go visit. But those aren't necessarily the people on the front line. The people on the front line are signified in all of these top right places. Those are all real people who work in these areas. It's too dangerous to come back for training via car. You've got to go by helicopter. So there is one WHO helicopter a week that takes people from the city back out to the field. They can't take people out of the field to go do training for a week. This is people's lives. This is aid that sustains people. So whatever training they've got to do, or whatever they need to get to become more operationally excellent, has to happen in the field. So they worked with HT2 Labs to deliver PMD Pro using Curator. Yeah, you see, it works so well. This is PMD Pro on a mobile. So what Curator, our social learning platform, does, is deliver curated content. This is content that's not just of your own devising, but content from around the web on a device like this iPhone, perfectly formatted for you. And then we don't just ask you to look at content, we ask you to take part in conversations about that content. It's not good enough for someone to just see a piece of Six Sigma operations excellence, something or other, and think, oh yeah, that's great, moving on, nice video. We want them to try and apply it. We want them to tell us what the reality is of applying these methods in northeastern Nigeria are. So we end up with lots and lots of conversations. In our first case study, we had just 100 users, but after 8 weeks using our Curator method, what we had is more than 3,000 contributions back to the platform, 1,800 pieces of user-generated content. These folks are uploading videos, files, documents about how they can do their job differently and better using the tools we give them. And they're doing it on their mobiles. You get some nice scores like, 95% of people say it's great, as might they should. My favorite story comes from this guy. This is Raymond. Raymond was a driver for Action Against Hunger. So what he's doing is working with field teams to put them in the places he needs to be, or they need to be. He was enrolled in PMD Pro, and he did it on his mobile whilst he was just trotting around northeastern Nigeria. Got the qualification. It's transformed his life. He's no longer the driver, he gets driven, because he's been able to upskill himself with the PMD Pro qualification, move his family to a new location, and start being a project manager out in the field. And the work these guys do, even if there's 100 of them, reaches thousands of people. If they can deliver aid more effectively, lives are changed. Apparently that wasn't good enough to win gold, so God knows what the gold guys did, frankly, because I think that was pretty outrageously good. But that was a silver. So let's step it up. Raymond was brilliant, but he wasn't good enough. To win gold, you've got to be in big pharma. No, that's wrong. That sounds awful. AstraZeneca, doing some wonderful work, a very innovative company that also looked to use Curator. Thank you. But also combined that with Learning Locker. Yes. What they were interested in was trying to measure the value of social learning. Humentum showed us we could get people talking. So what? What were they talking about? Were those productive learning conversations? Were things better as a result of this? This is what AstraZeneca wanted to do. So they designed a series of open online courses for their leadership. This one's called Leading People, using Curator. This is just the desktop interface as opposed to the mobile interface. And inside Curator, what they're doing is yes, I don't even know I'm doing it now. You're so good at this. Inside Curator, What we have, red panda, red panda, red panda. I feel like you're just missing out. We have curated content alongside conversation. So we can take a TED talk and ask people how might they apply this? What would they do differently? We can put that alongside corporate content, and we can even put it alongside simply made content. Spencer, who is one of the program directors here, got quoted £8,000 to make a 3-minute animated video on a point. So he asked his 12-year-old daughter to do it. I think it looks pretty good, actually. The point was not about the content. This really gets to the heart of what I'm trying to say. The point is not the content's the trigger to get people thinking and doing differently. What would you do differently given the messages in this video? So, watching the video, trying to apply the principles to their day-to-day role. This has been tremendously successful in terms of getting engagement. This is just social learning in action. These guys went out to about 10,000 people. They've had 157,000 contributions in the first 12 months. Thousands of pieces of content, conversation, comments going on. These sorts of numbers are pretty good, quite impressive, but it's not enough. I want to know, what's the value of all of this social learning happening? So we started to take this data out of Curator into Learning Locker using the Experience API. And in that, we were able to do some text analysis and understand what it is people are actually saying and whether it's of value. So let me explain this graph. We have 4 levels at 0, 1, 2, 3 on what we call the cognitive presence scale. What we're looking for in people's contributions is, are they changing their behavior? Are they adopting and integrating new ideas into their thinking? Or are they just passing beyond? So each one of these bars represents a different content at different levels, levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a progression through this course. What we see that early days, level 2, we've got a lot of stuff that's in this gray, level 1. A level 1 contribution is somebody who's a little bit confused, or they're asking questions. They're saying, I'm not sure how this applies. Where can I do this? Is this really right? I think it's like this. They're kind of starting to question where this fits. Level 0, the one below it, is what we classify sort of typical, hey, great resource, nice comment, things that don't really add any value in terms of a learning conversation. So they don't make the scale. If someone's just saying, nice comment, not counting that. Level 2 is where people are starting to integrate things. So they've gone through this questioning process, not sure what this is about, and they're starting to have a bit of an aha moment. Oh, this is like this. Is this the same as this, or could I do this with this? They're thinking about how they might integrate the new idea with their existing knowledge. And level 3, this tealy job, is where people are actually saying they've tried something different. Probably a more reflective comment. I saw this video, we had this situation, I did this differently, this is how it went. Using the data behind this, we're actually able to classify all of those comments to demonstrate how people are getting towards that more critical thought and trying something different. So at the end of the 5th level, we're seeing 70% of contributions of people actually demonstrating they're doing something differently. Doesn't mean that a habit's been formed, it's a one-off. We've got to build on this in a campaign of learning. But what we're pushing people to do is change, or at least have a go at something. You'll see a lot about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and things like that at the show. We've got really nice opportunities here for how we can use this new tech to do this sort of thing. So I just wanted to take a moment to show you how. Not too technical, I'm not too technical. What we do when we're looking to mark this content up in the first place, let's say we've got 1,000 comments. We send our data scientists, led by Janet, to hand mark 1,000 comments. Are they 0, 1, 2, 3? And we have a few other scales. So they're going through these painstaking process, more than one person doing it at a time, and creating what we call our training data set. So we've got 1,000 comments where an educated human has said, this is a level 1, this is a level 2, this is a level 3, and there's a rubric. So we do that a few times so that we've got a reasonable estimate of what level things are. Then we take 800 of those 1,000 comments and we run a neural network, specifically a recursive neural network, a machine, through those comments, picking out patterns in wordplay. So when we've got this word followed by this word followed by this word, what's the outcome? And over those 800 comments, we're trying to train the machine what to look for. We can try loads of different algorithms, and when we find one we like, we can test it against the other 200 that we already marked. How accurate can the machine that was trained on 800 comments predict what level the other 200 are? And what we find is that within this context, AstraZeneca's data has managed to get to about 92% accurate of the machine. That's pretty good. It's not the sort of thing that you would hold somebody to ransom over. It's not, you're not going to base a credential on whether they made a comment, but it does give you a flavor for where are valuable contributions happening. What content gives the best learning conversation? Who are the people that are really applying and doing things differently? So we end up with this sort of matrix that says for each piece of content, how many of the comments were trivial versus non-trivial, what was their scores in cognitive presence and a few other places. We call it real-world application and social presence. And we're able to give this level of intel to AstraZeneca. That's not annoying at all. The level of content we're able to give back to them is incredible detail about what it is that's making for a good learning experience. So that was AstraZeneca doing a bit with Curator, Learning Locker, and I've not mentioned Red Panda. I'm actually not going to mention Red Panda. You'll have to come to the stand to find out about Red Panda. One more woo. Thank you. Such a good ploy, guys. So, first one I gave, we talked about Humentum, and I gave my wonderful, weepy, teary-eyed story of Raymond, which is typical of what we get out of a lot of learning. Wonderful anecdote. AstraZeneca, I was able to go a little bit further and prove a little bit more impact about how people were having these conversations that might have formed towards them doing something different. But I haven't reached the Holy Grail yet. For the Holy Grail, I have to go to the toilet manufacturer. It's a cheap laugh, I'm sorry. Villeroy & Boch. Villeroy & Boch, a wonderful family company based around kitchen and bathroomware. If you stay in a classy hotel and you look down when you visit the bathroom, you may see Villeroy & Boch's stamp. That's how you know it's costing 300 quid a night. They got the Villeroy & Boch stamp of approval. We've been working with these guys for years, and they are incredibly forward-thinking with how they do online learning. They are constantly pushing the boundaries of what they can do for the first time. So they have a program called Brand Ambassador. Brand Ambassador is about basically net promoter. How can we get more people in store becoming net promoters of our brand? Difficult market being in tableware. You can get an awful lot of porcelain for not very much money when you go to certain Swedish places. So how can someone like Villeroy & Boch, who demands quality, suggest that their brand is worth paying for? They needed to train their people in thinking about the story, the quality, the thought, the craftsmanship, the tradition that goes in to wanting to buy these products. They called this program Brand Ambassador. So, of course, they used a bit of Curator. Thank you. And we put it into the machine, the Learning Locker machine, to measure what the outcome was. So what we did is we sent people on the social learning experience. We're collecting the data about who's doing the most. We're doing it at a store level because we were not allowed to go to the individuals. This is a German company by heritage. We're not going at individuals, we're going to the store level. And then we did something quite clever, or more specifically, Villeroy & Boch did something quite clever. They got us the data out of xAPI for how the stores are doing. So we've got performance data in terms of whether people are doing the learning and engaging with it, and now we've got SAP store data along with mystery shopper scores. We're taking that into the machine and we're bringing in historical data, so I know what happened in 2016, and we're bringing in store data, so I can account for big stores, small stores, busy stores, quiet stores. And what we're able to do is to perform analysis that says those stores that were most engaged in the social learning experience returned a 1% increase in average transaction values compared with stores who didn't engage and over the last year. This is a pretty good result for a retailer. Retail, 1% matters. But we could go further, because what Villeroy & Boch did was even cleverer than that. They took an A/B testing approach. So what I just showed you was the A sample. These folks just did social online learning using my wonderful curator tool. But they believed in a blend. They thought that a blend could do more. So for another set of stores, our B sample, they didn't just do curator, but they also did, God forbid, face-to-face training. They did online facilitated WebEx stuff. They did monthly newsletters. They put all of this stuff into the mix and made a campaign of learning that sustained over months. It was a timed thing. You had to be there in May, in June, in July, in August. Not specifically at the dot, but a new set of content would release in May, a new one in June, a new one in July. Drip, drip, drip. This blended learning campaign. So we put it through the machine. This time we've got more data. We've got more data, WebEx virtual training, we can get data from who logs onto WebEx. Classroom workshops, give me a CSV, I can upload that into Learning Locker, and we can account for people who turned up face-to-face. Yes, I missed that one, you got it. Newsletters, comms, we can collect information on whether people are engaging with email communications. Put it all into the mix. Who's engaging the most? Which stores are engaging the most? And we can take some more survey data, happy sheets, implementation surveys, put them all into the machine. And what do we see? We see that in the B sample, average transaction values went up 6%. There's an enormous increase over our A sample for folks who are most engaged in the blended learning journey. Their top performing stores in the learning were starting to become top performing stores when it came to average transaction values. And they were bringing up conversion rates because we're counting how many people come in through the door, and now we know what their ratio is of store visitors to store purchasers. This is kind of the holy grail stuff, and it took a lot of setup and a lot of time to get to this. But Villeroy & Boch had a vision of how they could do something for the first time. How could they really prove that their sales academy training made a difference to their business? So, Humentum, wonderful story of applying mobile social learning in a difficult part of the world. AstraZeneca, measuring the value of social learning. And Villeroy & Boch, being able to demonstrate the ROI of training. These were all firsts. These companies had never done this before, and they worked with us at HT2 to deploy Curator, Learning Locker, and none of them did Red Panda, but they should have, to do something for the first time. So guys, if you want to do something for the first time this year, we're the people to come and talk to. If you want to deploy another LMS and you've already got one, there are plenty of vendors in the room that will help you with that. We're not one of them. We're the people you come to when you want to make a change, when you want to do something outrageous and different for the first time in 2018 that can make a wonderful difference to your business bottom line. If you want to prove impact, come see us. We're over on stand N10 around the corner, 30% off our license fees if you do a Learning First with us this year. My name's Ben Betts. If you've got any questions, please come up after and give me a shout. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you to my plushie holders for their wonderful attention and your time. Thank you.